Charter Committee meeting, July 27th, it's 5:04. I am here. Dave Risberger, are you here?
I'm here.
Scott Harrington, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, we're missing Ed Overby, Ward 7. Hopefully he'll be with us soon. Did everyone have a chance to look at the minutes?
Yep. I had no issues.
Okay, great. Scott?
Sure.
Okay, perfect, by acclamation. Topic A, maintenance worker appointment.
Thanks, sure. So I just wanted, have a pending maintenance worker that we're hoping to hear back from. We wanted to discuss it today in case we hear back in time for the council meeting on Tuesday.
Okay,
It is a budgeted vacancy.
great.
And Chris, I'm sorry, is this
Say no more.
streets crew that goes in there, or water?
This would be streets.
Streets crew. Streets crew.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any comments?
No, it's fantastic.
Yeah, exciting.
Figure anytime we can fill an empty slot, that's great.
And that, I guess, would lead me, if you're okay with Greg, just going right into the next one.
Sure.
Which is the civil service update. We do have, I just wanted to kind of state that we have a couple positions posted on our website that are for DPW.
Okay,
We have, it's posted as a heavy equipment operator, but if you read the top, it's really could be filled based on experience by either a maintenance worker, a motor equipment operator, or a water distribution maintenance mechanic, which we also have a separate posting for. We still have several vacancies in the DPW crews. Our parks crew is actually currently filled, although they are filled with, they're filled with maintenance workers currently, which is a little different than the positions that were budgeted, but that's based on the people that we've been able to hire. There are still vacancies, including a working supervisor on the water and sewer crew. And the streets crew, I think after, if this maintenance worker appointment were to happen, we would, I think, have one more remaining on there. So we do still have some vacancies available. And then the other update was our police exam, which is, the exam itself is being held on September 9th. The posting originally had an application due date of August 7th. We've extended that to August 11th just to provide a little more time in hopes that we may get more candidates.
okay.
There's been a few different things we've tried. You may have seen some signs around town,
I have seen some signs around
some
town.
posters, some different events. There was a night at the Outlaws. with
I saw that, how
free
did that go?
It went well. I mean, you know, there was a good turnout. I can't say that it's exclusively for that purpose because free nights get more people, and I think it's pretty consistent with other nights there. But
Okay,
we had an officer there in uniform. I think some vehicles parked out front.
the big,
Yeah,
fancy one.
the special van. So yeah, we're trying some different things. I think we keep looking. We've been bouncing ideas around for DPW as well. So there is someone on the crew who has volunteered to drive a vehicle in the Otsego County Fair in Morris next week.
I believe so next week.
They're
Otsego
taking.
County Fair's next week?
Yeah.
Oh, how did that happen?
So
Okay.
they're taking the Camel,
Yes.
which is our bless you,
Thank you.
hydro excavating vacuum truck.
Yes.
Cool.
It's pretty neat. I've seen it around town. And there's going to be a little blurb mentioned about the city of Oneonta, the vehicle itself, and we are hiring. And that's
That's great.
something that employee has kind of volunteered and brought forward on his own. So we appreciate him for doing that. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the civil service update.
Really inventive stuff for recruiting. That's cool.
We're trying, and there's more ideas that we keep bouncing around that maybe we'll get out in the future. I will say on the police exam, we have reached out to a contact at SUNY Oneonta from the Community Police Board, who has access to a criminal justice distribution list that we've pushed out the exam announcement to as well. So
Cool.
we're trying a number of things.
Yeah.
The current exams are usually the focus, but we are trying to think of citywide what things we can do.
Yeah, cool. Okay, rolling right into number
Sure.
C there. Number
Again,
C.
that's me again. So last night there was a Civil Service Commission meeting, and in that meeting we discussed several topics. We approved some eligible lists, and one of the topics was civil service exam fees. To speak about this, I just want to make a distinction that there is a difference between state civil service, which is civil service for state New York State jobs, and then there's civil service, like local civil service, which is, you know, our municipality, other municipalities. So in May, the governor made an announcement that they had waived all state civil service fees. So again, that's just for the state jobs. That doesn't automatically apply to us. It doesn't require us to do it. That went into effect, I think it was July 1st. We have been getting some questions from people saying, like bringing applications with none of the test fees, saying, oh, I thought the fees were waived, and we have to explain what it is. But, so this was an item of discussion at the Civil Service Commission last night. There were some questions asked, there was some different information shared. This is something that multiple municipalities are dealing with. Some municipalities had waived civil service fees for exams during the pandemic and then extended it, especially when they heard that the state was doing it. Others have done it since the state has done it. Others are not doing it. So there's kind of a variety of responses that municipalities are taking. The governor's announcement, one of the things in that states that civil service fees provide, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is pretty close, civil service fees provide a barrier, or are a barrier to participation from disadvantaged communities. So I think that's one of the goals in doing that. So the question was posed to the Civil Service Commission whether they wanted to recommend to waive the fees or not. And the recommendation was to waive them. However, I will say that it was a split vote, 2-1 in favor. And it was a close 2-1. I can't say that it was, you know, it wasn't very clear. And I think because of some of the issues and challenges that arise in this. Just to let you know, the way that our fees work, we have for every exam, for every candidate, for every exam application that we have, there is when we get the test, there's a fee that we have to pay to the state. That fee is paid at the end of the year. It's I think it's $12.50 for uniform, police and fire. It is $7.50 for non-uniform, and it is $5 for like T&E or decentralized exams. Those are what we have to pay the state. Our fees that we charge are double those. So uniform exam is $25. A non-uniform is $15, and a decentralized is $10. That's kind of how we do it. It's been that way for a very long time. I don't think there's been changes in those in a very long time. So by waiving the fees, we would be waiving the entire fee, which means that we would still have an expense that we would need to pay to the state for those exams at the end of the year, based on the number of exams and the type of exams that we have. This was one of the items that came up in the conversation with the commission last night. That is, well, I think it was one of the reasons that the person who voted no. But you know, finances is also something that council considers. It's not necessarily something that the boards are, you know, have the authority to do, but it was certainly consideration in that discussion. I think at the end of the day, the recommendation was to waive the fees. Basically, when I say now, just to be clear, it would be from any unannounced exams going forward, if approved, if it were to go to council and be approved by council, through the end of 2024. The state civil service waiver is through the end of 2025, so they are going a longer period. I think the idea from the commission was that will give us a year plus a little to gather some data, see what impacts it has. There is kind of concerns by waiving fees that you may get people that are less likely, you might have more no-shows, people that it's easy to apply because it's free, they're not as invested, they may have no-shows. It does reduce the amount of work that like our office would handle, and, you know, as far as processing the payments, it's extra steps. But I will also say, I can't say that's a tremendous amount of work. As I said, if they were waived, we would have to pay fees at the end of the year. I think this year our share was something like, it was under $1,000. I want to say it was like $750 or something like that. So it's money, but it's not, you know, in the scheme of our entire budget, it's not a lot, but it is money. Obviously, another advantage, according to the state, is that if fees are a burden on people, that would prevent them from being able to apply or remove that burden. I will say that the city does it's required that we have a fee waiver policy, which typically is if you're unemployed or on financial assistance. We typically do not require proof. Typically, if someone reads that, finds it, goes through that process, it's granted. So that avenue is available, and if the fees were not waived, could be continue to be available. So I guess we're bringing it forward as a recommendation from the Civil Service Commission to this committee for consideration. If this committee were to decide that they would support that, moving up to council at the next meeting, we would just draft a motion that would, basically waive the fees. Again, their recommendation was through 2024. The council could decide what period of time they want to do it or not. And yeah, if you decide not to, then it wouldn't happen. Or if you want us to come back with more information, we could do that as well. Or I can try and answer any questions you may have tonight.
Okay, that was very thorough, thank you.
Thanks.
From all angles, I really appreciated it. Yes, Dave?
Just that clarification. So we currently have a fee waiver program.
We do.
Do we notify people that are applying that we have that program?
Great question. Yeah. So they are. It's part of the exam announcement. It is communicated in several ways.
And what's the fee again? What does it range from that people would have to pay?
So $25 for you. 25 is the highest. That's for uniform, like police and fire exams. Those are secure exams. There's different reasons why the state charges more. And again, our policy is typically to double the state fee. $25 for uniform exams. $15 for non-uniformed, and then $10 for decentralized exams.
Thanks.
I'm sorry if I
No,
could,
please.
one other piece. So I should also mention, just in case anyone's not aware, that the Civil Service Commission for the city, the way the Civil Service Commissions work is our Civil Service Commission is a commission for the city, so it covers any agencies that are required to participate in civil service. So obviously that includes us. It would also include the school district, and it would also include the housing authority. A lot of times when people think of civil service, they're more familiar with county civil service, because county civil service would handle surrounding towns, school districts, those kinds of things, as well as the county itself. But I just did want to clarify that there are other agencies that would fall under this, because the commission is covering all those within the city.
Library too, right?
Library too.
So can I, just
Yeah.
a couple of questions. You said this year or last year it was about $750 that we paid to the state?
Yeah, meaning for what we filed, the annual report we filed for 2022, so calendar year 22.
What,
For the cities, the total amount was more, but there was from those other agencies as well.
So the other agencies reimburse the city?
Yeah,
For their share
the fees
of
paid
the
for,
fees.
yeah.
Okay, that's helpful.
so how much are you talking like a loss to the city then?
Well, it does depend on the number of exams. If it were to hold consistent, we believe it'd be, I think it was around the $750 or $800.
That's what we have to pay, that's what we ended up paying to the state last year.
Yeah.
But you said we double that, so we take money in, what's the loss?
Yeah, so, well, I think we typically budget $1,500 in revenues, so we would be losing that revenue.
Did they consider just charging what we would have to pay to the state and doing away with our portion of it?
Yeah, so I think that did come up in discussion, and part of the reason with saying, well, waive it all or not, is because by reducing that, what we're doing is we're still having the added steps. And again, I don't want to say that it's a crushing amount of work, but it is additional work for like our office to process those payments, and you're not bringing in the additional revenue that in theory could help offset some of that work. So the idea was either keep them or waive them completely, but there was some discussion about that.
It's nice the state made it convenient to put it on us, instead of just waving it across the board.
That is a little frustration that's shared with other municipalities.
Do you want opinions yet? You ready for opinions?
Not yet.
I don't know. I was gonna say, I don't know if you had any more.
No, I think I got it.
Would you say, in your experience, that the financial burden is a barrier in our community? Is a significant enough barrier to people signing up for the civil service exam or pursuing employment?
Sure. So I think Yeah, I would unfortunately have to say that it's difficult to say.
Sure.
We don't have, I wouldn't say that we have a lot of people that do request the waivers, but obviously that's a different situation because that's based on certain circumstances. I think it's one of those difficult things to ascertain because we might know people that say, oh, I'm not sure I can pay this, or it's, do we have to pay it or something like that. But what we don't know is the people that are just not coming to us.
Right,
So it'd be difficult for me to say.
yeah.
That being said, as far as the part of it that we hear about, I mean, there's some people that don't want to pay him, or there's some people that take a lot of tests, so they would probably be very happy to have it, waived. But yeah, I wouldn't say that it's been brought up as a significant issue, other than, and I'm not saying that this is something that they can't do, but we have had a couple recent applicants come in without payment saying, oh, I thought the fees are waived, and not understanding that that was a state waiver, not a local waiver.
Yeah.
But but they didn't say that they were withdrawing the application, and they actually said they would come back and provide the payment, so. I
Yeah,
don't think they've had that, they've done that, it was very recent though, like this week, so. I don't know if they've actually done it yet, but.
okay. Yeah, that seems to be the issue that we're solving, right, is removing the confusion around it. And, like you said, we don't know who's not coming. When we talk about what our challenges are with regard to civil service, is it the exams that we're getting? We're not getting like a lot of candidates, or I guess, can you just talk a little bit more about?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things, and some of it is dependent on the types of positions. We get applicants that apply for some positions that require some experience and don't have experience. But I honestly, if I'm being honest, I think the bigger issue is more at this point that we're hearing is salaries. And that's not a civil service item per se, but it is on, if we have an exam announcement where we're including the salary, obviously that's a piece of what people are looking at. I think I've shared before that it's more challenging to try and, even though the pension is a benefit and the health insurance is really good health insurance, there's still a lot of people who are really just most concerned with the money in their pocket at the end of the day. So,
Sure.
I would say the salaries are the largest obstacle. Beyond that, as we continue to try different approaches and reach out to different things, obviously getting the information in front of the people that are most likely to apply is a challenge that we will continue to try and tackle. But it's that's achievable, I think, through different efforts. I think in general, another piece that we've discussed, but I can't say, it's more anecdotal, it's not like a concrete thing, is that just making people, when they're thinking of employment, that we want them to think of the city of Honeycomb, whatever you do, because if you think about it, we hire, from all kinds of backgrounds for all kinds of positions, maybe not as broad as some counties, but we hire a lot of different work, office work, labor work, manual work, professional level work, public safety work, water treatment, wastewater. We cover just a huge range, and so there's a lot of opportunity for people with different backgrounds to work here, and we really just want them to think of the city.
Okay, thank you. Okay, very good opinions.
I understand it potentially being a burden for people, but I also worry about investing, meaning people investing in the application. And I think you get a better level of investment if people are still paying the fee. What makes me feel better, though, is that we have that avenue that's made known to the people that fee can be waived if necessary, especially if we're not necessarily looking for proof, or obvious proof anyway. So I don't see, this isn't just my opinion, but I don't see enough to really remove that fee. I don't know that it would necessarily impact what's going on, because this issue of lots of openings is
Is it all right if I just speak, just because you spoke of the investment piece? One option that has been discussed is looking at what we are charging the other agencies and possibly raising that to offset some of this cost, if there were a desire for that. Obviously, we're kind of approaching or initiating our budget process here. That would be something we could do in that regard. I think it's something that had been discussed, at least internally, maybe even with the other agencies in the past, but it didn't move forward. My understanding is the kind of what we charge for the services of Civil Service Administration hasn't changed in a number of years. And again, I don't mean to say that, you know, even $1,000 is little money, but you know, in the scheme of things, it's not huge numbers that we're talking about for the size of budgets for some of these agencies, even though like the Housing Authority is smaller, you know, the library is a little smaller, schools relatively comparable size in the city, I think a little smaller, I can't remember their total numbers, but offhand, but that is an option if there were a desire to waive and offset through some additional fees raised, you know, with what we charge those other agencies. But
Would you like to opine?
I'm gonna agree with Dave on most of it. I don't really see a benefit yet of doing this to waive them, especially when we're going through our fee schedule and we're upping fees other spots, and then all of a sudden we're gonna send a message out there that we're gonna lower it over here. You know, I think at some point we have to try to balance everything.
I agree. For those
So-
two reasons, I think at this time, it's not the right thing to do.
And just real quick, on there's I think I mentioned before, there's a listserv for kind of personnel and civil service officers. This is a topic that has come up there, and someone kept track, and it was close to half and half as far as people waiving versus not waiving. I think it might have been a little more in favor of not waiving. I don't, you know, I want to say it was like 10 to 13 or something like that. So just for context, you know, in the broader thing. Now, that's not to say that they might not be asking themselves the same questions,
Sure.
and that some of those people could change. There's also obviously a lot more than 23 or so municipalities and local municipalities in the state that we don't know about. So
Yeah.
through that process, I mean, we can look into it.
I'm like with Dave. I'm real comfortable that we have a place for people to be out in the.
Yeah, it's not like a firm barrier, but it does offset and provide a little income. So, and you're right, you know, we're looking at every little thing. It just doesn't feel like the right time. And that's not to say that we couldn't do it in the future, but yeah.
That's possible. And just, you know, talking about barriers, what's interesting is the state is also kind of attempting to move to electronic testing for civil service exams, and almost more of a continuous recruitment type approach.
Okay.
And they are, I believe they're looking at opening testing centers across the state. I think as many as 12 across the state that would be open, I think up to 6 days a week.
They could also fund libraries.
They could. Well, my point of bringing it up is more that the fee removal removes one barrier, but I don't know if having centralized 12 locations, if that presents either transportation or geographical barrier to people.
Yeah,
That could be as much or more than a fee waiver.
for sure.
So, you know, it's obviously people even the state are trying different things to address the lower, I guess, involvement in civil service exams that's happening kind of all over.
Yeah, we'll keep our eyes on it.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
City Hall business hours survey.
Yes, thank you. I'm excited to move on to this one. I
Thank
wish
you.
I could pull it up. Thank you, Jones.
One of the districts is James coming at 25 Pine Street, 27 Market Street. Proposal, I put my name on it at the History Center the other day. And then I saw the other day that they're putting the roof up on the old place where the train station used to be. That,
Do you mind holding your comments? We can have a
yeah,
public
well, I'll
comment
wait
at the
till
end.
then, but I'm just thinking, because I didn't know about 27. If that is the old train station where Shuttle Unit used to be,
It is not.
oh, I hope not, I didn't want it,
Yeah.
because that's a different thing.
Okay, and we'll have time for public comment then.
You're okay.
Okay, great. City Hall business hours survey results. excited to talk about this. So do you wanna take us through kind of your summary of your findings and then we can talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there's any clear conclusion as to really any direction as a result of this survey. I don't know if you want to go through the handout that I created based on the survey, or I mean, essentially like the first sheet, it's got a pie chart.
Yeah, yes.
Question, what services do you most often need to visit City Hall for? Check all that apply. 30 of 32 respondents checked city clerk, 18 code enforcement, 13 finance, 8 engineering public works, 5 personnel department, 4 assessor, 3 other, and 2 purchasing department.
Okay.
We did ask the question, would you utilize the above services remotely if offered? Of the 32 respondents, 75%, 24 of them said yes, 8 said no. The next several sheets are the individual responses to the question asking them to score on a scale of 0 to 5, where 0 is unacceptable, 5 is most helpful. A few different options that we presented for City Hall business hours. The options that we, let me just, I guess that's.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm understanding this now. When I looked at it on my computer, I was like, what? But then there's a chart, right, that sums this up. Yes, or there are several charts.
Yeah, those are probably applicable like that, so.
So it looks like the most helpful day, or the most helpful suggested schedule is Monday to Thursday, 8 to 5.
57% said that would be most helpful. 41% said that Monday through Friday 8 to 4, which is what we're open now, would be most helpful. Only 17% said that Monday through Thursday 8 to 4 would be most helpful,
Sure.
and Monday through Thursday 7 to 4, only 4% that said that would be most helpful.
I also think it's worth noting that 40%, almost 40% of people said Monday to Thursday, 8 to 4 would be unacceptable. So you
Yeah.
can't just cut hours.
I find it interesting though that 18% thought Monday to Friday, 8 to 4 is unacceptable, which is what we do now. Or actually
Yeah.
technically 33% think that it's unacceptable or at least helpful.
Right.
It's not that far off though from the Monday to Thursday, 8 to 5. It feels unacceptable and at least helpful, so. I was looking at this and I don't know about you guys, but I could go either way between these two.
I'm looking at the
If we're looking at options.
the neutral. You gotta look at the neutral too, that it doesn't,
Yeah.
you know, so I mean that. You know what I would, I don't know if we're just throwing it out there. I would say let's try going to a 4-day work week like we did before, when we did it with DPW, see how it goes, give it a test area. If you think you gotta fine tune it or whatever,
When you say 4-day work week,
or I mean the
business hours?
not the 4-day, I'm sorry, the business hours.
Well,
So-
what are we looking to gain though?
Sure.
Again.
Let's answer that question.
Well, I think from this, I can't really see where there's a strong one's better than the other for the 32
Right.
respond.
Right, that's
Which
true.
are
This
people
is
that are,
small.
engaged. As far as the city is concerned, operationally, I mean, a benefit I could see is having a little bit more efficiency. We found this, I'll let Chris speak to how DPW is found, if we were to change schedules, which obviously changing employee schedule, requires negotiating with unions to change how that works, but if we did something like that, a 4-day work week, a little bit longer days, they found that to be more efficient, and I want to talk about your experience with that. Why might it be more efficient for the employees to get the same amount of work done in 4 days instead of 5?
Well, I think what we're finding is that some tasks may take more than 8 hours, so they have an extra 2 hours each day to get those tasks done. I think one drawback is a lot of people still work on Fridays. So if there's a contractor working, say like the water sewer, where they're 410s, someone hits a line or we need to call somebody in, it's overtime. That is one drawback, but I don't know how that's affected our overtime, do you?
I haven't looked at summaries this year on that. I don't know, it hasn't affected it to the point that we're making budget transfers, that sort of thing, or blowing our budget on overtime.
Okay.
It hasn't been a significant effect in that respect.
I would say it's been a definite boost in morale. The guys are very happy that they're doing 410s. They get Friday, now they're getting 3 days off basically. So that's been very positive. I don't think there's been any really drawbacks to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think of City Hall, obviously different type of work. Most of the employees here are not out doing 8-hour jobs necessarily, but they might have. I'm going with this, but
It gives you a few hours of like uninterrupted, like if you know you have a project or something that's gonna require your full attention, you can kind of push it to the end of the day and say like, I know I'm gonna have 2 hours where I can just do this. Just speaking from somebody who has worked a customer facing and back office job before, I would go in early and have like an hour and a half by myself so I could get all that stuff out of the way. Because after that, my attention was split, so that's my personal experience with it.
But are we talking, if we went to Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5 in City Hall, are we talking that employees would still be there on Friday, it just would not be open to the public?
well,
That
that's,
was my question too.
we're not proposing any particular, that's the question though, right? Are we saying we're gonna have employees here 5 days a week, yet we're gonna cover longer hours and only be open to the public 4 days, which in that case, that opens up some time on those days, the Friday, when,
Mhm.
City Hall's not open to the public, or employees can work on projects that take longer, dedicated thought, without interruption. Certainly, I think for a lot of the admin employees, department heads, people that are working more than 40 hours a week anyway, or, myself, certainly I can speak for myself, that, having a day without a lunch meeting schedule or people coming in is probably gonna help in that regard. But that's not necessarily what we're proposing, we don't have a proposal. We could talk about having Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and that's when the employees are here, 8 to 5, or some, they're only working 4 days, not working 5. We don't have a proposal.
Yeah.
Well, and my feeling is this is not conclusive, especially with 32 people. But maybe you want to look more into it, come back with a proposal, benefits, things that we would lose by doing it.
Yeah, I mean, as a human who uses the services sometimes, I think being able to stay open, I can see the benefit of being able to stay open a little bit later for people who have to come, like, right when they get out of work, And I can, from the back end, I can also see the benefit of having a little bit of time to just do work uninterrupted. It feels really good to just get stuff done. But I agree with Dave, I don't think 32 people is enough of a sample size to be able to say like, yes, this is a good change. And like you said, we don't really have we don't know exactly what we would be going for, right? With regard to like what changes that would make in the building. So I think it's a good first step. I applaud you for, exploring a new idea, for sure, and, see what you come up with.
Okay.
Yeah, Scott, do you have anything to add? Okay, excellent, thank you for sharing the results.
Oh, because you guys twisted it the way that I was trying to get it out of my mouth. I just couldn't get it out of my mouth the right way.
You're welcome.
That helped.
Yeah, thank Gary too, please, for putting these charts together, because that made that really digestible.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, topic E, bid award, Wilbur Lake Trail Bridge installation.
So we recently received bids for the Wilbur Lake Trail Bridge installation. This is to install the bridge the aluminum bridge that we had already purchased is being constructed.
Mhm.
We received 4 bids. The bids range from $434,132 to $77,250. We'd like to award the project to the low bidder, Both Our Construction. I believe the funds are coming from ARPA, Greg? Do you have the breakdown for those funds?
Yeah, so this bid at 77,250 for the installation, combined, add that to the 44,316 we already have committed to purchase the bridge structure itself, that's 121,566. If you add a bit of contingency onto the install contract, I was rounding that up to 130,000, that would be our budget.
Okay.
Previously, in February, we established a budget of 110, so we're 20,000 short. The intent and the budget established in February was using ARPA funds, that first round of money intended for parks and recreation improvements. We could amend that budget to be 130, all still coming from ARPA. If we do that, just to recap the ARPA funding, I've done this a few times, we'll keep doing it. We've spent about $280,000 on the 2 projects that are complete. If we spend 130 on the Wilbur Lake Trail Bridge, plus 235 we've been discussing for the performance stages, plus the 35 we recently dedicated to the Niwa-Catella Pathway 5K loop paving, that would be 680,000 of the 713,000 available. So there's a little bit of room in there for, the next 2 projects that haven't been bid yet, if they come on a little bit higher than anticipated, another project we might add in there. So we're still within our overall budget.
Or some public art. Just throwing it out there.
Sure.
Okay. So what you're looking for from this committee is, yes, let's award the low bid, and also do we want to fund the full thing with ARPA? Okay.
That would be our recommendation.
Yeah, how else would we do it? General fund contingency. Thoughts? Yeah?
I think we should fund it through ARPA because it'll still cover the projects we have planned, and we still have money left over. It's obviously not as much, but it's covering the bandstands, which is something that we've been trying to get done for 10 years. It'll take care of the walkway.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, no objection here either. Thank you.
I just said what Scott was going to say before he said it.
I got a thumbs up from Scott. That was about as concise as it gets. Okay, Market Street demolition, 27 Market.
So Delaware Engineering, we have to do an amendment number 2. Their scope of work didn't include some items that they have to have work done by sub-consultants. One is Geologic and the other is Delta Engineering. The work includes Geologic, a qualified firm, to obtain and analyze 2 water samples of the water that has accumulated in the basement of the 27 Market building for volatile organic and semi-volatile organic compounds, total lead, and asbestos. That cost is $2,500.
Okay.
The second sub-consultant services is for Delta Engineering, qualified firm, to prepare and submit a site-specific asbestos demolition variance petition in accordance with their July 5th, 2023 proposal. And that was $2,500 plus a $350 variance petition fee and any postage, mailing expenses.
What is the funding for this project again?
This is the Restore New York funding. We awarded a $477,000 grant for that, which we've had for a number of years. We initially spent $25,521.25 on an engineering evaluation specifically for the SHPO report to get SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office, approval to demolish the structure. We had to do some documentation of the historic structure, et cetera. Our current contract, our original contract, I guess I should say second contract with Delaware Engineering was for $44,000 for the engineering for the demolition plans and specs. The first amendment to that contract was $22,330. That was for geotechnical evaluations and environmental hazard survey and testing, and, this $5,000, or I guess 5,500, is that what we're looking at? Chris?
Yeah.
Yes.
5,500 would be for what Chris just described, a total of 97,351 and 25 cents would be the total amount.
More than double their initial. Right? Their initial
Um,
contract.
Yeah, the initial 25,000 for the SHPO,
No,
that was like phase one, he said initial 44,000 for the engineering.
For
construction
Delaware.
plans and specs, and then they needed to do geotechnical evaluation.
so. Let me formulate my question. Anything anybody wants to say?
Not right now. It's,
You said $2,500?
It's a total of $5,500, $2,500 for geologic to perform the testing, and then another $2,500 and a $350 variance fee, plus postage for mailing the application.
Essentially, this will get us to the point where we're ready to go to construction, whether it's through that cooperative program that we had a presentation on, or through a public bid. When I say construction, I mean demolition.
but this is additional testing that we didn't expect to have to do originally until we went in there and we saw the level
Correct.
of water and contaminants in the water.
That's correct.
So I guess my concern isn't really about this additional testing, it seems like it's necessary. What, we just had the, presentation, right, about the consortium and co-op. And, my understanding is that they were going to put together the demolition specs. So does that take any work off of Delaware Engineering's plate at all? Because my understanding is that their contract and presumably what doubled their contract is that they have a lot of work to do. But it seems like if they're not going to be preparing the documents, then that's less.
So Delaware has already prepared the documents. The contract drawings and specifications have been completed. This is specific to obtaining a variance from the Department of Labor. So you have to do this testing. You take the testing results, you prepare the variance, you submit the variance to the Department of Labor for their review and approval. Basically, the Department of Labor details and approves what you have to do to tear down the building and protect your workers.
Yeah, I
So
understand.
that's something that Delaware didn't have included in their scope of work.
Yeah, I
And
understand
it's
that.
specialized, so that's why they're having sub-consultants do the work.
Sure, I understand this amendment that we're, and I have no objection to that. Where I'm not understanding is, we contracted with them to prepare the drawings and the scope of work for demolishing the building, but the last meeting that we just had, we had a presentation about how the consortium was going to do that.
So what the consortium or cooperative is going to do is they're gonna take those plans and specifications, and they're gonna come up with a cost estimate. So they're gonna do a cost estimate based on what Delaware prepared, working with a contractor, Gore, who would be doing the work. So that's something separate.
I know it's separate from this, but I
Yeah.
guess I just don't understand.
Well, I'm saying it's separate from their design. So basically, what the cooperative and Gore are gonna be doing is they're gonna be coming up with a construction estimate based on all the work that Delaware's done to date.
Okay, rather than going out to bid.
Correct.
If we did a normal bid, design bid, build process, Delaware does design, we put out the bid, we get competitive bid pricing based on their design, and we get the low bidder that's qualified. It's basically the same process, except they've already bid through this cooperative pricing, like unit pricing. Now they're gonna determine, apply that to Delaware's design to come up with prices. It's basically the same process, except this cooperative's already been bid, so we don't have to do a competitive bid. There's still a construction company taking an engineering company's design plans and specifications and then applying pricing to to it.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. I
Yeah,
think I understand it now. It is confusing. I am confused, but I understand it a little more now, so I appreciate that. And I'm glad you could join us.
I apologize for being late.
Oh, no problem. It's nice to have you here. So, does anyone have anything, my question aside, does anyone have anything to say about,
I'm just hoping this is the last additional that we need to do before we can actually go forward with this.
yeah,
I think we've all
knock this thing down?
waited.
The next steps will be,
I had was that.
Oh, excuse
Sorry.
me, hold your comment.
After this, we'll have agenda item G, we'll have some public comment.
the next step will be coming to you guys at the next finance meeting with their cost estimate.
No way.
That's the plan.
Great.
Good.
Okay. Comments? No? Okay. Gotta do what we gotta do.
Well, we need to vote on this, I'm assuming,
We're gonna vote?
so.
I looked
What,
over
Greg,
there
do we
and
need,
got no.
what do we need for this for approval?
This we would have a,
We go to council, right?
Yeah.
yes, I believe it would.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah, I think,
got enough room.
just
Oh,
from over
explain
there.
the technicality, this is $5,000, basically a change on an existing contract, but we don't have a budget set up for this.
Oh.
It's the way you were.
Okay.
I don't believe, I think that's the reason why we go forward with a council motion as opposed to an internal
Okay,
thing, so.
okay.
So
You're on the side of caution.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I approve going, moving forward.
Okay, thanks, Dave. I felt affirmative from that side of the room, but let's be formal. Thumbs up from Scott.
I don't know if anything new came out today. I understand the process from the way it was explained at the previous meeting. Unless something new came up today, then I would go yes.
Okay, yes. Chris, would you mind just running through it again briefly?
So basically what's occurring now is they're using the design, drawing the specifications that Delaware prepared, and Gork's gonna be coming up with a construction estimate based on those design drawings and specifications. We'll be coming back to you at the next finance meeting, hopefully with a construction estimate to discuss the total cost.
This, though, the.
Oh, this
5,000.
particular item here, so this additional work, we had to, Delaware had to hire 2 sub-consultants, Geologic, to do some water sampling and testing of the samples, and then they had to hire Delta to do a variance. Basically, you use the water sample results, you include those results in the variance, and then the variance is something that's submitted to Department of Labor for their approval on how the work is to be done. And that's a necessary step to be able to start tearing the building down.
Mhm. So we also got a brief overview of the budget. We have a grant for this, $477,000 from Restore New York. This would bring the contract with the engineering consultant up to $96,000 from where it started at $44,000. I think generally the mood in the room is that we have to do it, so. But if you have anything additional, you know.
No, that's pretty much the way I understood it.
Cool. And it'll come from the grant funding. Yes, thank you.
Okay, I did have one more
Oh,
item.
sure.
Dave asked if this was the last time they were coming to with an amendment. I just wanted to mention that there will be an amendment for construction services.
Deconstruction services?
Or like construction oversight.
Oh,
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right, topic G. Intermunicipal agreement with Town of Oneonta Routes 23 and 28. So this is the one where we set up a budget for engineering services. We hired an engineering firm. The town is going to pay their portion once we have an agreement.
Right, we're still working on finalizing the language of the agreement that will define how the town, what percentage of the project the town pays,
Okay,
and how that works.
okay.
I was hoping to have that ready for this coming council, looks like it could be the next one.
Okey dokey. Do we have any additional discussion? No? Okay. Executive session? Okay. I'll allow a brief public comment. If you'd like to stand up and address the board, I'll give you about a minute. Anyone?
Yeah, I wanna know about something.
Just state your name and where you live first, please, for the record.
James Cumming, 2123 Putnam Street.
Okay.
It is Market Street 20, is that's not Stella Luna.
Correct. It's the building that has the black and white, like deer and foxes and things.
And all the broken windows.
Oh,
Where is that?
It's across from the parking garage.
yeah. Like if you're standing at Foothills
Yeah.
and looking at the parking garage, it's the other building.
It used to be only on sale.
Oh,
Yeah. It's gotta come down.
oh, but so does the parking garage.
That's a whole other discussion though.
Yes.
Oh. What I was also wondering about was that, they're gonna put the Jim's place over the park and the trailer for the parking garage when that does go down. And I don't know if he wants to do that or what, but, cause I'm trying to know that the railway customers building is in there, and when that does get done at the parking garage, it might be better to just let them have a small space on that property without having to go out to the park, because I could see that there's not gonna be space for anything out in the park where the buses go, the train tracks.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else? Is it? I'd have
Oh,
to
I
go-
think that's
I'd
good.
have to go check out where this 27 is.
Okay.
Okay.
All
As
right.
long as you don't get anywhere near anything like, and the thing about 28 project, where is this thing on Jeep, what are they doing with? Is it
The-
28 Route
Lettuce
28?
Highway.
Yeah. Lettuce Highway.
Oh, the Lettuce Highway.
Yep.
They're gonna,
Good questions.
Well-
Thank you.
well, wait a second. This Lettuce Highway bridge thing is, why don't they just levitate the thing up and don't have it on the ground? Why don't they just put wires up and have a walkway over that so that people don't have to touch the ground?
Thank you for your
It would
suggestion.
be extremely expensive to do something like that. And and the intermunicipal agreement with the town of Oneonta regarding Lettuce Highway is not to remove the highway, but to do highway improvements along there and make it safer for people walking.
Mhm. All right. Thanks, everybody. We're adjourned.
You're not going into executive, are you?
My computer is at trying to reconnect, so we are still going to be live, so that's.
Okay. Thank you.
Give us a nod when you're off.
It's gonna be a bit, because it kind of froze on.
Okay.
Should we all just leave and then suddenly there's like a jump in the video and there's no one there?
Let's see, we adjourned at 5:58.
Night, everybody.
Is
All
it?
right. Thanks,
Good
Chris.
night. Oh,
Are we going into executive?
No,
We're
we're
not.
still
We're all set.
live.
We kept it under an hour. What are you gonna do with your spare time, Scott?
I'm so sorry I was late.
Oh,
My son's leaving in the morning and he and I were working on a project and we were just having too good of a time. I lost track of time.
that's all right. Thanks for deciding to come. That sounds like it was not an easy decision to make.
It was a light agenda today.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
That's good, thank you.
Yep.
You're frozen live. You're frozen live.
When did the City Hall operations survey close? When was the last meeting you accepted?
I can find out. I don't know exactly. It wasn't like, we didn't establish
Adjourn,
the
yeah.
last date.
Oh, I got family waiting, I'm
Yeah,
going
go
back
ahead.
home.
Is it still on?
Yeah, go home. Goodbye.
Everything's being recorded, but
But you're welcome to
Meetings.
leave.
We're adjourned, so
Yeah.
people can just watch us pack up. They
Yeah, I guess they.
don't have like TV or something. Okay, see everyone Tuesday.
Okay.
All right. Have a good night.
Yeah, I don't see it on there anymore.
Okay, so it's not like not asking for comment. Yeah, I think it seems like the DPW, that was like a bond up, came from the employees that wanted that. But did you hear from town hall employees, or is this something that they want to initiate on that?
This is, I have no agenda or end goal as far as one way or the other. It was because we implemented the DPW on the garage, was successful there. We initiated the conversation, figured to get some feedback from employees and the public, so.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know this was kind of like a hybrid job, like there's the front facing part and then the back end part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I've had employees mention that they want more time to work on these projects and to work on, stuff like that, and to take a break from being available for the public, or probably not.
Some employees seem to value that or would like that, and it's a mix, you know, it depends on the specific position you're in. If you're an hourly employee, for the most part, you're not, coming in.
I'm gonna go downstairs and see if I can turn it off.